So hello guys, welcome to this new video. As you can see, I'm in a pretty new location. I had to do a move, so I'm in my own room to record. But I'm not going to talk about this at the moment in this video, probably in another video later. And in this video, I wanna try to documentate my coding journey. I actually started a new project about a URL shortener based on a microservice architecture. So let's move on to the computer and let's get started with this project.
One eternity later.
So hello guys, I'm actually on my bed and I'm pretty frustrating because I spent maybe about 2 hours trying to make the video. I made the entire process where I built the application, and after making all of that, I realized that there was a bug in the OBS studio on my Mac, and I lost everything.
Security, okay, here we can say security,
Everything. I retried to record the video another time, maybe more short, in maybe 10 for 50 minutes to resume everything 3 times, and all of three times something went wrong, and this is something that's never happened to me. I always fixed some solutions. Pretty frustrated, but actually I'm trying. I changed also my computer, and I'm on the bed because I'm so tired, but I actually want to publish this video because it has been since by a while since I didn't publish another video. So actually I created this microservices, and we have in our URL shorten application 3 services actually. I meant to say currently we have three microservices. We have the redirector and the shortener. So the redirector takes in input the code of the mapping, and the shortener and redirects you to the associated link. So you have the main entity is the mapping. So the mapping maps the original URL to a code. So that's the shortening of the URL, and the string that's placed at the end of the URL shortened. And we have the redirector that takes in input this layer code and returns the corresponding URL, and the shortener that lets us create, read, update, and delete, so perform CRUD operations on the mappings. And that's pretty basic. But I have also I will add another microservice, that the authentication microservice that lets us perform basic user authentication. Probably I will add also the OAuth queue for logging in with Google or other social providers, and not limiting just to email and password authentication. Maybe I will add also probably mail sending just to complete my knowledge, because this is only for project-based learning. So let's dive into the code. First of all, we have to say that gateway is the main orchestrator that manages all the worker microservices. And let's get started from this. So we have the gateway package, where we have the controller, and the controller, this is the main controller. We have only one mapping because I configured only for one mapping, but in the later videos, in the future video, we will add other mappings to complete the application. But the logic is this for each mapping, so we have only to repeat the code and maybe add some differences. And so here we have the post mapping, and we have the service. The service is the producer service for RabbitMQ, because I don't told this, but in order to lets the gateway communicate messages to the other worker services, we use a message queue. There are a tons of message queue services, and you can choose whatever you want, but I choose RabbitMQ. I could choose also Kafka, but just to start, I picked RabbitMQ and I started documenting about it. And you have this kind of structure. You have the client that makes a request and send a message to the exchange. The exchange is the main component where the messages arrive, and in the exchange happened the main logic, because you have a producer, that's the client who produced the message, and then you will have a lot of one or more consumers. A consumer is another component that reads messages from the queue, and for each component or for each consumer that we have attached to the exchange, we will have a queue dedicated to this consumer. So when I create a consumer, I bind the queue with the exchange, and the exchange, once it gets created, checks for all the bindings and create as much queues he needs in order to distribute messages across different services and create the different queues, and it duplicates the message to each queue, and this is automatic. So here we have the producer service, and before of that we have to configure. So in the producer, that's the gateway, because produces the first message to send requests. We have to define the main exchange, that's defined as main.exchange. I also define all the main of queues, exchanges, and routing keys. I didn't told you what is a routing key. Basically, a routing key is a key that let the components know where this message and what kind of message is this. So here in this markdown file, I defined basically how where the main structure. So we have queues are shortener queue and right director queue for the first direction of the communication. Then we will have exchanges, and we will have main exchange. That's for now the first direction. In the next video we will implement the second direction. So once we do a request, we need a response, specifically for certain types of requests. And finally, we will have RK, that stands for routing keys, and this let us know what kind of message we are carrying up. So I first of all implemented this, but as I said before, as soon as possible we will implement all of this. But the process is still the same, except for a few changes, but the product is the code is pretty basic. So okay, so if we go here, we can say the bit configuration for the gateway, and here we define the name of the exchange. It is the exchange, and we define the bean with the main exchange, and this is for the configuration. Then we will define the converter that we will use to convert from string to Java object and vice versa. So then we will move on to the workers that are the main that's where the main business and logic of the how messages should be implemented works and lives. Here we have the source, main, Java, and here up here in configuration we have Rabbit configuration, and here we have a queue name, that's director's queue, main exchange, the same as we said previously because we are communicating on the same exchange, and routing keys uses this specific pattern. So we're saying for each routing key that starts with mapping dots and ends with wherever you want. And this is for a particular type of exchange, because direct exchanges doesn't support this, but we have different types of exchanges, and there is also topic exchange, that the one that we are using right now, and let us do this thing basically. So we define the queue, the exchange, and finally we define the binding. So we bind the queue and exchange and routing key. That's pretty flexible. Finally, we define the listener. That's most important component, because listen up when a message is added to the queue, and eventually, in that case, we have the adapter, and the adapter calls the Rabbit consumer, that's the class that's done the work, the final work, and called consume message. So here we have the into services, we have consumer service, and into under consume message we have the method that takes an input, a string, a array of bytes. It converts, first of all, it converts the bytes to strings, and finally it converts with an object mapper using JSON. That's the most standard library to do this kind of mapping. Converts from string to JSON, that stands for Java Object Notation if you don't know it, and this is a particular format to show structured objects, and it's used also to map the object in Java from Java object to string, and this object mapper led us to this kind of mapping, or serializing as you might call it. And finally we call the service, and the service is the service that works on the DB and with the repository, and create the mapping with the features that we define in the requests. The same is pretty the same in the other service. And finally we can do a simple test by running up these three containers. So first of all, I have to run the RabbitMQ service. That's the first container in our application for now, but probably in the future we will containerize all of these three applications and the related databases, so we can have a fully featured ecosystem on Docker. So Docker start RabbitMQ, and we should see, okay, see, yes, also here we will have RabbitMQ up and running, and now we can start. First of all, the gateway. So gateway is running. We have this up running, and we started the gateway application. So it's running. Now we can start the redirector, and it should start without any particular problem. Oh yeah. And I just wanna wait a minute, do the request, and then start the shortener service, just to see if when I create a message on the queue, it gets saved in the queue, and once I boot up this, it will get read by the service. And this is pretty helpful, because when you work in production and in a production environment, probably one of these services would be go down, and if it go down, it will lose the messages and the edit and the operations made on the server, and this could cause a data loss. So let's try to do the request. So new HTTP request, and here we can say local host 8080 shortener mapping body raw JSON. Here we have to add, for example, let's say I wanted to add to shorten the Google URL, so www.google.com, and I want to shorten this with the code G, so only G, letter G, and it is associated with the user number, let's say 3. And again, I forgot to put this method on post, and I can run it, so I can send it, message sent to Exchange. So as you can see, I sent message, and also the redirector consumed message. So now, since I have been sent the message from a while, I can start the shortener.
A few moments later.
It has consumed the message youtube.com because because it was the first time I start all the 3 services, and the Exchange didn't recognize this as a new queue to put the message on. So that's it for the video. This is work. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have some particular pro tip, suggestion, or particular question, feel free to write a comment down below. Like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, where I will cover more arguments and maybe extends the functionality and the features of this application. And it's all for my knowledge and learning. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.